is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
All right. We're back. Felt like an eternity,
Yes.
but we're all back. And what a week we've got going here. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Derek Brandeo pushing all the right buttons. Jen Rolnick and yours truly, Sammy McKee, in what will be, I don't know if it's eventful, but we know we've got talking points.
Yeah, we do, right?
Well, a ton.
You know what's listen, you know what's great?
Tell me.
Vacation, not working. Holy. We have an easy job, but know what's easier? Not working. What a vacation. Those 3 days.
Played a little golf, didn't
Yes.
you,
I
Sammy?
did. Pleasant.
Don't mention golf. YouTube gets
Couldn't
mad.
come from, what do they call Sammy? Gen Z?
I don't know. L. I have no idea.
No,
who he
I'm
is.
definitely not Gen Z, but thank
What
you
are
for
you?
thinking that.
Gen,
I'm a millennial.
oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's where the trouble started, I think. Vacation first, and then work. Hey, Sammy?
Yeah.
You fell right into that one, my friend.
You did too.
I'm going to make you work your butt off in the next hour. How's
Oh,
that?
yeah. I'm just grinding.
We
here,
have
fellas.
got a ton to get into. We're going to start with the Toronto Maple Leafs and Michael Nylander. We got
Who?
a clip out of Frank Saravelli, who went on the
Really?
morning show today.
Willy Nylander.
What did I say?
You said Michael.
I said Michael.
You did.
See that's what happens when you take so much
Rusty.
time off.
Rusty.
You go to his dad, who was a teammate of mine.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's a default position for you. I'm sure you've said that a zillion times.
If he leaves, if he's traded, will you call him back, Michael, again?
Will
'cause
Michael play for minimum?
If he gets moved, and he strictly is about highest paid wins,
Yeah.
that is an all Michael Nylander move.
Tough to be mad at that sometimes. Yeah, I always have a little bit of respect for the guys. You're like, I just got paid, man. Got all the money I could.
Also on top, Pierre-Luc Dubois and L.A. The curveball here, because I included, said it was just destined for the Montreal Canadiens, but things change, as they say, and I'm going to tell you why as we progress to that storyline. Erik Karlsson's making some news, wanting a trade to a contender. Jordan Staal signs a 4-year deal with Carolina. Sean Durzi, Sammy's boy, on the move.
Yeah.
Do you have a Jersey?
No, I don't have that.
You don't have a jersey.
I would love to.
Jersey?
5 times fast right now.
Can't.
I would own one if someone gave one to me.
Tough bounce, for the kid?
Yeah.
Go play in mullet and lose?
Yeah.
That one's just a Debbie Downer.
Well, that's a weird one too, though, because you think, was it a 2nd-round pick? That's it? Is that what they traded him for?
Yeah, I
it
think
just
so, yeah.
seems like a really easy
Is he
trade.
due to get paid a bunch
Yeah,
this
I think
summer?
so. Maybe he's, but I thought that was a weird one for LA. Maybe to look to get some money for Mr. Dubois.
Elliot Friedman reporting that Aiden Hill is close to an extension in Vegas that should get done at $4.9 million.
Curious that it's apparently 2 years. Like Aiden Hill doesn't want to lock up some security? Really want to bet on himself?
No, I think it's the other way around. He would love to lock in more years at 4.9. It's Vegas that won't go past 2 years.
Really?
Yes.
And he's still down for that. I guess $10 million and a chance to re-up in a higher cap situation, not so bad.
All right. Who's joining us out of
Arif Dean out of
Arif
Colorado
Dean.
too, for an actual completed trade, which maybe in 2014 would have been a little bit more exciting, but still pretty crazy to see them taking a chance on Ryan Johansson. So a couple minutes on that.
Yeah, and Ryan Johansson, of course, acquired by the Colorado Avalanche. There's a guy that came out of the blue to end up there.
Yeah.
$8 million left on 2 years. Colorado gets it for half. So we'll talk to Mr. Dean about that. And then NHL awards tonight.
Yeah.
Does anybody care?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I
of course. Watch
voted.
on
I voted
Sportsnet.
them. I should say I vote in them, and I do think they're retroactively interesting. But watching them is not typically as
It's a
scintillating.
very important must-watch event on Sportsnet.
We're gonna
tonight.
watch it. We're gonna watch it.
We'll watch the whole
You
thing.
know
We'll
what-
tell
weigh
you
in
to
on
watch
it tomorrow.
You know what strikes
Jays
me
don't play tonight.
is
so.
that when you're in the heat of the playoffs, and correct me if I'm wrong, but did the announcements come out somewhere in the first round?
Yes.
I think it kind of gets lost in the first round. And I use Mitch Marner as an example here. Selke finalist.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big deal. It's a big deal.
For sure.
Nobody said anything. No one talked about it. No one gave him any credit.
Can I be
It was
honest?
just lost.
Completely forgot that happened.
Lost.
Well, and you know what it is, Kip, for me? It's not that when it comes out, it's that they do it in dribs and drabs. They're like, and this Monday we'll announce the Norris finalists, and they'll announce it. And then it's next Tuesday we announce the Selke finalists. And so you inevitably miss some of it, right? There's no big unveiling of the finalists at once. I think that might be the way to kind of get the word out better.
Okay. Let's kick it off with Willy Nylander and Frank Saravelli on the morning show.
I think he's been pretty aggressively pursuing a new deal for William Nylander in the last number of days.
Okay.
I'd hesitate to even speculate in terms of progress or what that might look like. But I do think the full court press has been on to try and get an answer.
Okay. Full court press is on to get an answer. Trying to sign Willy, Kipper.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen without Willy and his agent, Louis Gross, at least having a good indication on number 34. I really believe 34 will dictate where it goes with Willy Nylander.
In terms of Willy's going to want him here before he re-signs here?
No. More importantly, what's that guy's number?
Oh.
Right? And I'll take you back to when Kyle had those famous words of, we can and we will sign everybody.
They could and they did.
Yes, they did. And they did, and they got buried.
Oh, yeah. It did not work.
So at the time, the market had said that maybe the Leafs had overpaid a little bit at 6.9. Do you remember was there a swing back then? Was it 50-50? Was it 60-40, 70-30 that the Leafs overpaid Willy Nylander at 6.9? Do you remember that far back,
I
Sammy?
liked it day one, but I know there were people who didn't.
From a Leaf fan perspective, when it was signed, I think a lot of people thought it was a pretty big overpay.
Yeah.
I do remember.
I agree with that.
I remember the conversation being around it, being like, that maybe is a little bit too rich for the blood. So, like, he hadn't had one of his breakout Willy years when they had signed that contract. He was a good, promising young player, but he wasn't Willy Nylander of today when he signed the deal, obviously. So, yeah, I think there was some conversation about him being overpaid.
Was that a 5 or 6 year deal? I can't even remember.
It was 6. I
5.
think it was 6.
Was it 6?
Yeah, I'll check right now.
Sure.
Yeah. So where do you think, JB, in the course of 6 years, it went from maybe a little overpaying to, oh man, this is a steal right now?
Yeah, I'm not sure when that happened, but I would say with the cap staying flat and his numbers continuing to go up and up and up, I think, yeah, I mean, you look at this last year, 40 goals. I think over the past few seasons, he's a top 20 scorer in the league. You know, he's putting up numbers like an elite player. So
he signed a 6-year, $45 million contract on December 1st, 2018, fellas, which is crazy that that was that long ago.
The point I want to make too is he went first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there was that sense of urgency that he sat out. And if I'm not mistaken, the deal went probably up until maybe a day or two on the cutoff date.
11th hour, man.
11th hour,
barely got
December
under.
1st.
Yeah, I remember on the station when we had updates that you had like a sounder being like, the next hour of the Willy Nylander.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
it was like down to the wire.
They almost didn't get it done because of like a jammed fax or something.
It was within like minutes.
Yeah.
So he gets done at the 11th hour and he comes up with a number of 6.9, and people are like now wondering where everyone is going to be situated after that. And that the ones that were screaming that that's too high were the ones that would kind of try to do the math on Matthews and Marner. I think the feeling back then when they signed 6.9, the thought was that those guys weren't going to blow it out of the water, that there would be a situation where perhaps Mitch Marner could sign for 7, 7.5.
Even the Rantanen number of 9, 9.5. Yeah.
When Auston went 11.6 and Marner went 10-9.
Mm-hmm.
That one pissed the Nylander camp beyond belief because of the gap.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess it's not hard to
And that's
understand.
my point is that may be coming into play here. Like, I'm not giving you 8.5 to watch you guys blow your brains out on 34. I'm not taking the hit so you can get to 13.5 or 14 for 34.
You know what though, Kip? Then go away. Then
Listen, it may be that may be true, and that's is that not what's going on really in Calgary right now? You've got all these veteran players, and not to turn tables on our conversation here, but that's that's realistic here.
Right.
That Willy may go. Listen, if you're going to make me eat a contract so you can just pay 34 or more, I may not go down that path.
But this mentality is what has killed this team. Is this, well, he's making this, so I want that, and he's got this, and watch your own bobber. Just like, is this enough for what you do for your job? That makes you happy? Then, and I know.
In theory, I'm with you.
Listen, it's not impossible to live your life that way. It doesn't have to be looking at the other guy's plate and saying, give me a bit of his pie. He's got too much.
Yeah. But, I'm sure Colorado's Gabriel Landeskog they were questioning, how much is enough for you on your last contract? And guess what? He had a career-ending injury.
Mm-hmm.
Hey? And you think he's happy that he signed as much as he could for the length that he could?
Mm-hmm.
That's always the risk for these guys.
Of course. And I understand the idea that everyone should try to get as much as they can. It only applies to me where you don't have to get as much as you can when you're already paid and you're the guys making the most in a really tight salary cap market. It's different to me when we talk about Matthews and Marner and I guess Nylander and, Tavares, whatever. It's different to me talking about those guys. And the middle class guy, go get yours. Go play for a bottom feeding team like Mikheyev. Go to Vancouver and make $5 schmil a year. Great. But I do think that there's pressure on Matthews, fair pressure, to take less money to help the team and say, we're not this time. We're not about squeezing every penny out of the team.
I've always had this theory where I would put 3 superstars in a room and say, we've got $24 million or we've got $30 million.
How do you guys think it should
You
go?
guys decide and you let me know.
I mean, I love that idea.
That's borderline Babs in the list here. We got to be careful with that kind of thing in Toronto.
No, I mean, it's true though.
What
You're
do you
like,
think?
here's
I'd like to see them get along then, eh?
10. Done.
What's that?
With the 30.
There's pain coming.
That's easy. 10.
No way.
They had an opportunity to do that. And Lou Lamoriello, once upon a time, gave Matthews camp and Marner's camp the thought that we're going to treat you like Chicago treated Taves and Kane.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both at 10.5, and they were equal, same agent. Nobody's whining and complaining. One got more than the other. But it's hard for them to realize that or get them to agree with it.
Right.
So we've heard absolutely nothing on the Matthews front in terms of a contract. If it's, Freege said that there's potential it's going to get done here, but we haven't heard any friction or whatever. And now you hear that from Frank about Nylander coming out. If I'm a Leaf fan hearing that, it makes me somewhat happy because if Treliving is full court press on Nylander now,
he must have some cost certainty on the other guy.
Probably knows that, Auston's signing. So that
I will say that it's June 26th and we haven't heard a peep from anyone on anything. I think he's signing.
He may have to come clean with the Nylander camp to say this is what he's signing for.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense.
It makes me feel a lot better. If he's at 12, maybe I'll take 9 or 9.5. I'm okay with being
he ain't at
2.5.
Yeah. Austin's not at 12.
13.5.
But
yeah, he's at 11.6 now.
Right.
So is he getting $1.5 million raise or $2 million raise?
I hope it's the first one. I hope it's $1.5 million for our sake as a show who wants the Leafs to have money to spend.
Is Willy asking for a $2 million raise?
I think it's $1.5 million, and he says, okay, Austin's making 13.1.
Which takes you to 8.5, 9 if it's a lateral raise for both of them.
You know, there's some fair cases to be made about contracts. I think Marchese was saying on their show they had mentioned like the Forsberg contract and comparables.
Dated.
Oh, no, certainly dated. But at the time he signed it, the percentage of the cap, you know, would take Willy to at the same percentage of this cap, yada, yada.
But we are also talking guys that we assume that the Leafs want signed anywhere between $5 million and $8 million on a cap that we know is just on the cusp of going up.
Can I tell you, if I'm signing the Willy deal, I don't want to do big term. I want his contract up. I want him to be thinking about his next contract. I don't think he's a guy who's going to do great if you give him 8 years and it doesn't matter what he does between now and age 36. He's a guy I want to go shorter with.
Interesting. Like a 4 or 5 year with him?
Yeah, sure. I'd consider less. I'd consider 3 or 4.
So that makes sense for Auston Matthews as well. Does it not?
Well, no, because my point about Willy is motivation. And I don't think Willy's a guy, or Austin's is likely to just sleep through seasons.
I don't know. He's slept through the playoffs.
Come on now with this.
Come on.
Matthews?
I'm not going to retrofit his playoffs being bad all of a sudden.
It's not bad, but he just hasn't shown up.
Scored 5 goals in the first.
In 11 games or something. Which is
how
about
many
his
in elimination
pace.
games?
I feel like he's played pretty well.
How many in elimination games?
1.
No.
He
Try again.
Well, in game 6 he scored. So more. He scored in game 6 when they won, which is an elimination game, right? He scored the goal.
I don't know.
Yeah.
1?
Yeah, it was 1-1, and he scored the goal. I don't know.
Okay.
I thought he was pretty good in the playoffs.
Okay. All right. Listen.
He didn't sleep
just
through the
not
playoffs.
dominating. Just not dominating.
Definitely
That's
not.
all.
Definitely
Okay.
not.
Good.
Definitely wasn't the same
I'll
type
give
of
you
year.
good. I'll give you good or very good, but highest paid in the league, good?
No, 100% not.
Okay.
No.
All right. Anyways. All right. Let's move on.
But he's going to be the highest paid guy.
Yeah,
in the league.
he is. But the only question is by how much? Because a guy who won the Stanley Cup in Colorado only was allowed to go up $100,000 of Connor McDavid.
I got to tell you something right now.
So tell me with a straight face how Austin jumps up to $2 or $3 million.
I feel more comfortable with someone other than Dubas negotiating the contract because he got beat pretty cleanly on all the other ones.
It's all you got is to look at history, and it didn't go well for him.
No.
You think Brad Treliving's the guy to play a little hardball with these guys?
See, I think he has a big advantage that you didn't have the first time, and that these guys have been paid. They have seen the salary cap crush their team and what they've had to do. You know, they have no draft picks because everyone has to retain salary for them to get players. And they've seen the reputation, how it takes a hit when you're overpaid. I think Treliving's coming into a much softer approach with those guys than Dubas would have been. Do you not think?
Is that why Shane Doan's also there to do some talking?
Yeah.
Talking up the let's win together. Let's not worry about the money. Let's have the legacy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's why Doan's here, or if that wouldn't affect me one bit if I were Matthews. I'd be like, yeah, I like that guy. Anyway, back to my contract. Yeah.
What's the point of having him?
Well, he's an up and coming guy, isn't he?
He's a hockey man.
In that, he's a hockey man.
All right.
Yeah, he likes hockey. He's a hockey player. Played
All right.
hockey. Didn't win a ton, but. Did you want to talk about Tenenbaum quickly before we get to Arif?
Just your thoughts about hearing about the news that his shares may be moving real soon.
It's a lot of cake, boys.
Yeah, I mean the valuation of the Leafs is very high.
Yeah,
but I will say it's sad to see in any way the face of ownership minimized. He is such a universally liked guy. And he's such a present guy in the Raptors dressing room when they win, in the Leafs room when they lose.
Yeah, I didn't get a sense this year of Larry's presence for the Leafs.
I didn't this year either, but I have seen him around. I was with the Marlies, and he used to come around. You know, we'd see him, and he was in our team picture. Like, he was a part of things.
I think it's still debatable on where exactly his shares are going, because I keep hearing that Bell and Rogers have first right of refusal on his 25% or less than. I think, you know, I don't know what kind of clauses were in his agreement when he first came on board with Bell and Rogers. But I would think that it's still negotiable.
Like for other,
for
them to get in
maybe
there.
If he holds on to some shares, I would imagine
think he will.
I would imagine the deal's less about money and more about, voting shares. Because I think it was set up where he, as a minority owner, he probably had more voice than any other minority owner in the
for
National
sure he would have,
Hockey
right?
League.
Bell and Rogers both own 37.5%. That's 75%. I
Yeah.
believe he was 25%, right?
Yeah.
And I think of that 25, he's selling 2/5, 40% of it or something, which is 10%. I could be mistaken on
and
that.
often would he have played out the deciding vote on things if they were split between Rogers and Bell?
I would guess. I would have. You would know more about that than I would. Is that
I
your
don't know.
understanding?
I'm just speculating here.
Yeah.
I'm just spitballing that.
Because it was supposed to be the Ontario Municipal Employee Pension.
Which
something or other.
I don't know. Would Bell and Rogers say, no, we're going to take those shares?
I don't know. They got the money for that?
Who?
Well, I don't. Does
Are you
Bell have the money
nuts?
for that? Does Bell got
Buddy,
money?
check under your seat. There's money. There's Rogers money everywhere here.
Because it sounds like it's a $400 million chunk, so it's 200 aside or something. Yeah, I can probably make that work.
Yeah, I think they
Just
can.
pay you
I
a
think
little
they
less,
can.
and they'll be fine.
I don't know.
Not coming out of my share.
Do you think people care if it's just Bell and Rogers owning the team
I think
without a face?
Can Rogers take hold and take all that
without
chunk
a face?
themselves?
Okay.
to me,
All right, let's go there. Hold on.
Make
hold
it
on,
ours.
hold on.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, let's go there. Do one of them decide that
We're gonna run the
I'll
show here.
I'll take the blue and white, and I will waive restrictions on a second team in Ontario?
Holy
Oh,
smokes!
my
The room
God,
exploded.
Kyper.
The
Jeez.
studio is on fire.
What?
Are you just speculating? You heard something? Like, what are you saying there?
Answer the question. Don't worry about
See,
where my
you
where
can't handle the truth.
where things come
Kyper,
from.
Say it again to me.
I said I'm sure both of them would be very intrigued to hold on to the iconic Toronto Maple Leafs, but in the event that they don't and they pass it on to their partner, would you lift the right for me to have a second team in Southern Ontario?
Wow. That is such an excellent question. I think
It's the most underserved hockey market in the world.
if you put a team in, I don't know, Markham, Vaughan, or whatever, and you just
Pick a community.
Have
You're
any-
fine.
like, I think immediately that team is super popular. Like, there are people
If people had the chance to root for a Toronto team that was in the Leafs, whew.
and it would be so good for hockey here because everybody who was a Leaf fan and turned would immediately be shamed. It would be an awesome rivalry.
the NWO all over the
Oh my
place.
God! I'd be making fun of the
Incredible
Markham
rivalry.
the Markham Waxers of the NHL. I'd be making fun of their fans all the time.
Now
That's my number one thing.
The Players Association are not involved with franchise fees, but they would be licking their chops on, say, coming to Toronto or Southern Ontario instead of going back to Mullet Arena. Like, that's hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh, you're
to-
talking soonish.
Well, listen, by the time you build an arena, you're talking 3 or 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I'm talking
Yeah.
sooner than later if the decision could be made as easily as I don't know, year and a half, 2 years.
Mhm.
Hell of a lot more attractive than going back to Atlanta for the fourth time.
What's a franchise fee worth here?
Eesh.
You know what I mean? If it's, 6 years ago in Vegas, it's 650 or 500. In Seattle, it's 650. A Toronto franchise has got to be.
That's a really good question.
Is it 1.5?
2? Would you want to see where your price point is first?
I think owners
Remember
would
when
like that
Vegas
around the
came
league.
in? Remember when Vegas came in? They had deposits down on season tickets that I think got capped at 16,000 with a price point, and people were lining up. Don't you have to get a feel for that first?
I don't think you need a feel.
No.
I think the second you put the Devon, I don't know. What's
Vipers?
The Devon Vipers? Sure. I don't think you're going to have to get a feel. You're selling that baby out immediately. You still have
Yeah.
the corporate boxes, the corporate stuff, obviously within Toronto. That's immediately no problem.
The reason why
Maybe
it's
green,
never
right?
been seriously considered is because it doesn't come with the blessing of Gary Bettman and the Toronto Maple Leafs to entertain a second team in Southern Ontario. But if the ownership group was to relinquish their 37% or their half their stake for a chance to maybe have a second team in Southern Ontario, that changes everything.
So you're saying one of those telecoms being like, you can buy this PR piece and just give us the chance to have our own
correct.
second team.
God,
we'll split.
And
I
then
hope we're the Leafs.
then you really, at the end of the day, Gary has to listen to his ownership, and if they have a chance to add $2 billion in their
gavel.
pockets,
Ding, ding, ding. Who here would like bajillion dollars? All of you? All right.
Everyone say
32.
aye.
all right, that's enough on that.
That was
Let me-
fun.
Enough Fantasy
we had a
Island.
great time.
I'm going to call Arif here. Give me a sec.
All right, Arif Dean's going to join us. What did you think, before we get to Arif, what did you think of Ryan Johansson being picked up by Colorado?
I'm not a huge Johansson booster in the sense that he doesn't score. He's not physical. I think he can kind of go quiet at times.
Is that another way for saying at times he's a dog?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. However, he's also a large, whatever he is, 6 foot, whatever, centerman, right shot who scores 70 points or whatever his number is recently. Like if you were on the open market, if Ryan Johansson were out there, he wouldn't cost $4 million, right? He'd cost 6.5 or something.
All right, let's ask Arif Dean, Avalanche reporter for Mile High Sports and host of Hockey Mountain High. Arif, how are you? And thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great, guys. I feel like you guys have been a little busy with the Toronto Maple Leafs the last couple of months, so nice to change it up a little bit.
Well, you know what is nice to change up a little bit? Discussion points and some things that we don't expect. And would Ryan Johansson fall into that, now a member of Colorado?
100%. This is such a Joe Sakic and Chris McFarland move in the sense where myself and a couple of the other reporters, we joked over the last few weeks where we tried to pinpoint every possible scenario the Avalanche could go at 2C, and we galaxy brained some crazy ideas, and nobody got to Ryan Johansson. Like, this is so off the board. The $4 million retention, getting him for seemingly nothing. Galchenyuk, they just needed to send a contract out because they were at the 50 contract limit, is a very off the board move, but the more you dig into it, the more it starts to make sense.
Yeah, I mean, how does this change the Avs? Do you like the addition? I understand it's clever from a salary cap perspective. Does it give them a better chance to win?
I think it does, honestly. I mean, the guy that I kind of had my eye on is the same guy that the Avalanche were interested in before Toronto got ahead of the market at the deadline, was Ryan O'Reilly. And when you look at someone like Ryan O'Reilly and then you look at someone like Ryan Johansson, obviously there's an injury. He's lost a couple steps, but Ryan Johansson's, his strengths aren't his speed. And the Avalanche play a very high-powered, high-paced game, but he's super smart. He's got the high hockey IQ. He's got great hands. And it's very similar to what you would have in Ryan O'Reilly. So I think when you combine the fact that he's going to be playing with high-end wingers in Colorado, I know Landeskog is out, but when you have guys like Lehkonen, Nichushkin, and Mikko Rantanen kind of available to you, you don't have to be as strong of a centerman because the Avalanche have this unique combination of wingers where, they have lines where the wingers can carry the line. So between his high hockey IQ, the wingers at his disposal, and the size that he's going to bring to that team, I honestly think it's going to be a great fit. Obviously, the big wild card here is his health and recovering from the injury that he sustained. But other than that, I think the ability for him to bounce back is very much a possibility in terms of his on-ice production.
We're talking to Arif Dean, Avalanche reporter for Mile High Sports. Arif, when we talk about limited centermen available, and maybe that's why a guy like Ryan O'Reilly can still command a pretty good price because there's just not that many out there. Ryan Johansson is certainly a decent pickup, but the comparison to Ryan O'Reilly is almost like opposites. One guy super serious about his craft at times. Ryan Johansson has been a guy that hasn't shown up, not maybe in the best condition at times, and has never really proven to be a bona fide $8 million center in the National Hockey League, and he's 30 years of age now. And I get that they're only paying half price for it, but is there time for him to prove anything still? Can Nathan MacKinnon grab this by this guy by the collar and say, what have you been doing for 12 years, man? Look at the size of you. Look at the way you can shoot the puck and play. Why haven't you dominated? Is there time for that still with this guy?
I absolutely think so. I mean, there's something about having obviously a winning culture and a core group that you rely on and you can trust that, there were, murmurs out there that the Avalanche might go for Pierre-Luc Dubois. And that's a player that's asked out of 2 cities now and he's 24 years old. And it feels a little uneasy at first. And then you remember he's going to enter that room with those core players. And obviously he is a little bit younger, but it's the same idea where if you trust the core and you trust that you're bringing in a player that has talent, you trust that you can put it all together. And I think that's a big thing. Like, look at the way that the Tampa Bay Lightning have made or have built their roster the last few years. You had someone like Kevin Shattenkirk who got bought out of his contract and took a minimum contract or a very low-paying deal with the Tampa Bay Lightning, went on to cash out with the Anaheim Ducks. And it's funny because that's exactly what we're hearing now with Oliver Ekman-Larsson is, that makes sense in Tampa. He'll go there for a year, he'll make a little bit of money, and then he'll cash out again next year. So when you have a room like that and when you have a winning culture like the Lightning do, you can do things like that. And I think that's kind of what the Avalanche and Chris McFarland and Joe Sakic are banking on. They're bringing in a guy who's 30 years old. Is he young? No, but he's also the same age. He's going to be 31 when the season starts. That's the same age Nazem Kadri was when he had his breakout year with the Avs in 22. Not that Ryan Johansson is going to put up 87 points and, score big goals in the playoffs by any means, but it's not by, it's by no means a 36, 37-year-old that you're bringing in to play a depth role. It's someone that has the skill, has the talent. Obviously, the attitude and that part of his game is a little bit different than Ryan O'Reilly's, like you said. But if you trust the guys you have in the room and you trust that this guy has the skill to do it, you put it all together and you're kind of banking on that.
Last one for me, just, what are the Avs prospects of getting back to being legit cup contenders this offseason? Just looking at their lineup, some questions. I guess Nichushkin is fine and going to be back, it looks like. What are their odds, you think, going into next year? Is that right, Kip?
Yeah, no, for sure. And then just to add to JB's question, the thought of Nichushkin coming back and is it done and over with here? Is there a lingering effect of this guy coming back?
So to talk about Nichushkin first, is it going to be a lingering thing? Is it done and over? Is very much a question that I think the Avalanche are going to keep behind closed doors because that's the way they've been doing it since the beginning. It's been very hard to get any information. If Nichushkin is there at training camp and if he's still a top 6 forward, which I suspect he will be because that's what we've heard at this point has been confirmed, I would assume that between now and training camp, he has had meetings. He has had stern talking from Joe Sakic, from Chris McFarland, from Jared Bednar, and from the leadership core. Gabe Landeskog's not playing, but that's still a voice that people respect. Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar. If someone like Andrew Cogliano comes back, that's been a very big voice in the room the last couple of years. I think that if anything is going to linger from it, they're going to put it to bed before training camp, and they're not going to let that be an issue. In terms of what he has going on and what caused that very, very mysterious, event that happened in Seattle, I can't say if that's going to be something that's going to linger with him. But I think 4 or 5 months is going to be plenty of time, hopefully, for him and for the team to kind of rally around this and find your way through it and not have it linger, because that's the last thing this team needs. Like, already not having Gabe Landeskog, already having dealt with losing Nazem Kadri. You need Val Nichushkin and you need him healthy, and that's not something you really had last season. He was playing hurt seemingly since the Stanley Cup final. So that's very much something you have to put to bed. So for that part of the question, I very much think that they're going to work through that between now and training camp.
Arif, thanks so much for shedding some light in Colorado for us. Really appreciate it, pal.
Absolutely, Nick. Thanks to you guys for having me on again.
Arif
Thanks, man.
Dean, reporter with the Colorado Avalanche. And just a note, Nichushkin, 6 more years at 6.125.
But you worried about that?
Yeah, for sure.
To me,
How could you not?
The Gong Show, that whole episode
well, he had
was a Gong Show.
Does it not seem like he had I don't know. I'm not weighing in on the thing, but
This is the playoffs.
But it seemed okay. But it's just like one thing in his career. He had like a blow up here. Unless it's a consistent trend with him or a lifestyle or whatever.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I will say the type of thing he's rumored to have been involved in does not seem like something you stumble into once, which is partying, during the playoffs.
I get the rolling the dice on Ryan Johansson to get a guy that's skilled, that with that much potential for $4 million.
Yeah.
Is a decent.
Kerfoot made 3.5. Right? Johansson at 4. Okay.
Best backhand sauce in the league.
Is he going to be like Jack Eichel, where the room's so strong with Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon and Rantanen and Landeskog when he's around the room? Is that going to overcome just this guy at sometimes going, maybe tomorrow I'll be better?
I got to tell you, his reputation has really been outsized. He's not known for his defensive work, right? We know that. Yeah. So I assumed that he, over his career, had some large offensive numbers. His highest output for points in a season is 64. That's his career best point output. He's scored over 20 goals 3 times.
He had 12 goals, 55 games, 28 points.
Last year, 28 points. 13.
Yeah. It's a big.
Wow.
I mean, all of a sudden it's like $4 million, and even $4 million seems.
I could see that working out for them, though.
It's gonna. If he gets 50 points at $4 million, that's not easy to find. So,
Kyper, before we go to break, I gotta go back to this 2-team thing. How, I know you're talking about money and all this stuff, but how the hell does one decide we get the Leafs? Like, 2 competing things are like, we are the team. We are the one who gets the most profitable team.
That's us, pal.
Yeah. Everything's negotiable.
Dogs. I know, Kippy, but
everything's negotiable.
Okay.
And you have a chance to be in Southern Ontario and control everything. They can both put the games on their network.
I understand the legacy of the Leafs. The chance to make money may be greater with the new franchise for a while, with all the excitement and buzz and all that.
I bet you they're immediately a top 10 to top 5 most valuable team.
Yes.
The question is,
yes,
if let's say Rogers holds on to the Leafs, how badly do you want to own it yourself? That's the question. Enough to overpay me and allow me to do this within, 100 kilometers. Maybe it's the Kitchener area. Maybe it's further down 401 West.
London.
Right? Maybe. I mean, don't know.
Oh, my God. There's not a team I would hate more in the league than that London team.
That ain't happening.
I'll tell you that right now.
But there's Markham. There's Downsview. There's Pickering. There's
Newmarket.
Vaughan.
Right? So
Vaughan's really close, though.
I don't know.
That's a subway ride away.
Yeah.
Well,
what's the problem with close? I mean, the Knicks and Nets are doing okay. The Mets and Yanks.
I have no doubt that the situation with Larry Tannenbaum will open up these type of discussions in the future.
So they're monumental decisions here.
So Larry, you think, was kind of like the traditionalist in terms of those things, like being like, no, there can't be another team here, that kind of thing. Like, you think there'd be other people more open to it?
I don't believe there's anybody under the MLSE umbrella that would want to share anything with anybody. Right?
Fair. Yes.
Come on.
A new pie of money.
We've got the whole market. Why do I want to give it up? Right?
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you why. $3 billion, $4 billion, $5 billion.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Interesting. That was just a really interesting conversation that I wanted to circle back on.
Okay. Can I expect more questions in about 10 minutes from you?
No, we're good.
Well, it just feels really insignificant now to be like, and what did you think of the Dursey deal?
I do think the Pierre-Luc Dubois conversation.
Okay, what about Jordan Staal signing 4 years? How old is he? 35.
The last year,
2.9 AAV, which is a fantastic number for a guy that plays 18 and a half minutes, is their most important 200-foot player.
But it's almost like the old backdiving deals where you didn't think they intended to play them out. His last year is $750.
Oh, no, it's a 3-year deal. Masked is a 4-year deal.
100% it is.
Yeah.
And
I love that contract for the Canes.
I did too.
It's a great,
Staal's like, I want to play 3 more years. They're like, 4 it is, and we'll knock down the AAV.
2.9 is hard to complain about.
Now you got to get Nylander to do what Stahl did and Matthews to do what Stahl did. And, right?
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Where else do you want to go? Pierre-Luc Dubois. Let's get a quick conversation there. I, for one, had been all over the Montreal destination for this guy.
Yeah.
And he's still in a perfect world, wouldn't mind going there at all. But it really makes no sense for Montreal to be aggressive on this to get him.
In terms of their timeline?
Yes, 100%, JB. Their
I agree.
timeline doesn't lend towards giving this guy an 8-year deal.
No, it does.
In the ballpark of $8.5 million. It doesn't.
It does. Because he's 24, and so the cap's going to go way up. You're buying his prime, and I think your young guys got to play with some players. I don't think you could be terrible. And then division's
they're going to be terrible.
They're going to be real bad.
For how long?
I don't know. If you start getting PLD and guys interested again, maybe not as long.
4?
I don't think you. No, I don't think you
4
need
years.
that long. Well, right now it looks like it, unless you sign guys like PLD. I just feel like for Dubois, he's asked out of 2 places, as Arif mentioned, at 24 years old, and Tortorella didn't.
No, he's not asked out of Winnipeg.
Well, he's clearly stated
demanded.
he's
He hasn't
leaving.
asked, he's demanded.
But that's my choice.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's his choice. They're all his choice. But Tortorella didn't
That's a
used
good
to
point.
yell at him on the bench because he was a great, motivated night-to-night guy. I feel like if he goes to LA, you could have another pouty baby stretch where he's not in Montreal. He wants to get to Montreal. So to me, it's like, get to Montreal and do what you got to do to be there, PLD. If that's where you want to be, take less money.
Or go to LA and win now and try to win now.
Montreal seems more important to him.
No, see, I question that. If that's more important to you to go be a rock star and have everybody
Should question
kiss
that.
your butt and not have a chance to win, I'm questioning that.
Yes. Same for me as Gaudreau going to Columbus.
But he's not. He's not. He's picking
Well,
LA.
and this would certainly change that appearance, right?
Yeah.
That he, and obviously Los Angeles is a place people like to live.
Man, yeah. I think it'd be all right.
Yeah.
Like, they're a good team. They add him.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big addition for
Well,
them.
I don't love LA as much as other people, but with Dubois, it really changes my perspective on them because Kopitar's getting older,
Yeah.
Doughty's getting older. Like, you
I
bring
want
in a
the-
guy
I
like
want
him.
I want them to pay him, too, because
the other-
you know what that means.
The other issue is you
Less
have
money for Auston Matthews.
Oh, right. What
What do you say?
I'd
It
like
would
them.
affect the likelihood of Matthews going there if they pay a lot of money to Dubois.
Mhm.
That's a very good point.
Thank you.
Yeah,
How
it
is this about
eliminates
the
them.
Leafs? We have found a
Yeah.
way to make it about the Leafs because that's the fear. It's not Arizona for Matthews leaving.
And maybe it's the Vaughn Vipers.
Ooh, maybe.
Yeah.
he-
Which for me personally, the fact that they've gone down the road so close to Pierre-Luc Dubois,
they don't think Matthews is coming.
they don't think he's coming.
The whole show, we've
Right.
unintentionally been
So,
like the Matthews ain't leaving show.
I do believe that lends towards Matthews signing some type of deal in the next week.
We should break.
All right, let's go to break.
I'm not leaving.
Yeah, we've had some good conversations for a measly Monday.
Listen, we're good at what we do.
All right, let's see if we're good to throw it to break. Real Kyper and Bourne back after these words.
This is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Gonna love this time of year. Elliot Friedman just put out a text saying Taylor Hall will be going to Chicago.
Huh?
Yeah, that one. I had heard Taylor Hall's name last week.
Why can't
Just
they do Tavares?
unloading.
They don't want Tavares?
Clearly,
Unloading.
Boston creating dollars and cents probably to keep Orlov.
Keep Orlov, or even add if in the event that Patrice Bergeron is not coming back and Krejci's not coming back. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, you don't get that.
Other name, Bertuzzi, too.
Bertuzzi they want back
Yeah.
big time.
And he's a UFA, and he just made, 4 or 5.5 or something?
Yes.
So he's going to need probably more.
So slide the Taylor Hall money over to Bertuzzi, you would think.
Yeah, what did Bertuzzi have? Last year was not great numbers-wise. Year before, he was 62 points in 68 games, 30 goals to go with the pesty stuff. Like in Boston, they're going to love that.
Mhm.
Net front guy who had 10 points in playoffs in 7 games, 7 or 5 goals. Wow.
Would Taylor Hall be excited about playing with
No.
Bedard? Or, Jay, here's something. You're not going to get close to a Stanley Cup for another 3 or 4 years.
So what happened there for Chicago? What did they get back with? Like, do they want to get better? Are they trying to win games? Maybe?
I would think at this point, you
Need players-
do
need
not
hockey
want to
guys.
tank anymore. You don't want to surround
You've had-
Bedard with
okay.
any negativity. This is about building and moving forward. So maybe Hall can come in and maybe mentor him a little bit. I mean, that's
Yeah.
part of the equation. I think if you're Chicago and Davidson,
I was starting to say that about PLD and Montreal. Like, I am not a guy who thinks bottom out for years and then turn it around. It's so hard. You saw Buffalo, like, bottom out for years and then turn it and then turn it. Oh, it's really hard. It's really hard to get going the other way. And I support teams who try to win. Even Detroit signing 7 UFAs last year and just starting to go the other way.
Yeah.
There's value in that to me and helping those guys try to win games.
Frege also sent out a text, I think, the other day about Aiden Hill and looking at did we do this already? 4.9?
Yeah,
We did.
mentioned that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I've been hitting the head a few times over my career. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I think Bourne has said this before, but with Taylor Hall in Chicago, you need hockey players on your hockey team.
Yeah.
And I think I'm sure that there'll have to be a pick or something. Like they're going to be incentivized to take it. It's $6 million still, right? Like that's a lot.
I think he makes 4.5.
No, 6.
No, I think yeah, he's
The cap
coming off
hits-
of a bit of a discount to go to Boston.
No.
JB's right.
The cap hit is $6 million.
It is. Hey, that's the
Yeah.
AAV.
Yeah.
Oh, my
4 years,
gosh.
$24 million contract. He signed
Oh, okay.
in
I was wrong.
2021.
In terms of money that's left, yeah, he's got 5.25 the last year.
Okay,
So-
here's one I know we haven't discussed yet. Eric Carlson, he wants to trade to a
Yes.
contender. What's he have left? 4 years at 11? Double check for us.
That changed tune, right? Like,
It
wasn't
might
there a
be.
while about would they approach him? Will they
See,
not
this
approach
is
him?
doable. But what's going to have to
11-5
happen?
11-5 till 26-27.
4 more years.
Okay. What is going to have to happen, and this could happen as early as this week, if San Jose just understands they got to take a big bite out of that salary.
3.5 brings you to 8 million.
Keep going.
4.5 brings
Well,
you to
if
7.
Nashville did 50%, that's what I'm asking for. I'll take
Whoa.
him for 5.5, 6.
What's that?
Or
5.75.
you start asking for 50 and you start taking it down to 45 and 40.
Yeah, I mean,
Like you could move
but
him.
I just think if
Would
you're
you pay
San
7.5?
Jose,
Would you pay 7.5
oh
for him?
man, Eric Carlson is 7.5.
8?
Let's go.
Let's go to 8.
Do I
I
hear
have 8?
8.5? Yeah, you got 8. I'd pay for 8.
9.
No,
8.5.
sure, let's talk.
8.25. Less
All
final
right.
offer.
All right,
for 4
825.
years.
You can do that, and I will give you a player for 825. He just had 101 points.
See, that's
Yeah,
I know.
101.
I get it. I
101.
don't know. We don't have much time, but maybe we can get into it.
So are we
Oh.
talking Leafs here? Is that what we're doing?
I don't know where you want to go with the Leafs.
Carlson, Eric Carlson. Here's why I want to talk about that. The Leafs, everyone's going, they need scoring. They need scoring. I'm sitting here going, they need D-men. Like they don't. Again, we don't think Giordano or Hall are going to be there. Right now, it's Riley Brody.
Yeah, I don't think you can go.
Liljegren, McCabe, and
I
Timmins.
think you can go close to $9 million for Erik Karlsson on the Leafs. I don't think there's.
Can you send him Willy and
there's
have
room.
him send back someone else who's good?
That's a yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
there's possibilities there for sure.
Can you find a
That
way
is
to-
a block.
But I don't want a guy who's had surgeries and could blow a wheel at any
Karlsson.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before playing 82 games last year, he was 53, 56, 52, 50, and then 82.
Oh, that's tough.
Listen.
That's tough.
Still finding a bona fide shutdown guy, and I appreciate McCabe. Didn't end up being Muzzin.
He's making
Doesn't-
$2 million a season. I love him at 2.
Doesn't appear to be a legit top 4 guy.
No.
Right? Great at 4, 5, and 6.
Don't mind him
But
in the regular. Yeah.
Is Karlsson what you need now to more offense and more go-to?
He can't score.
I know he can score.
Yeah, he scores.
I know. All right. All right,
GP1,
just like
baby.
that, our hour's up. Arif Dean, thank you very much for joining us for Mile High Sports, talking Ryan Johansson. We are back tomorrow, and we are back the rest of the week. Make sure you join us. Make sure you give us a rating and review. If you're on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Appreciate you always being on the Real Kyper and Bourne show with us. Have a great night, everybody.
It's the out of office event at Subaru.